Hello, everyone, and welcome. And Jenny's looking right at me and giving me a big smile, so I think she's happy today. Anyway, welcome everybody, and let's see, Jody, would you be kind enough to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test? She's always ready.
I was there. All right. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the four-way test to stay here so I can get it later. All right, let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now with the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much. And Brenda, I believe you are going to share a thought for the day.
I'm going to share my daily morning mantra prayer. So, oh great mother, I appeal to all of the positive powers of the universe, the great mystery. I seek enlightenment and to be mindful, grateful, and non-judgmental. I search for truth and expanded awareness. I acknowledge that truth has many aspects and love is large enough to encompass them all. May I always trust in love and the process and show up each day as the best version of myself. Give me the strength to rise above all fear and negative conditioning. Reveal to me all the ways in which I can serve. May I have the wisdom to use my resources, my gifts, my blessings, and my opportunities for the betterment of all creation. Let the harmony and love flow inward and outward. Aho. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any visiting guests? I see somebody back there. Yeah. No, of course.
So I have a guest, Judy Davidson is back in the back. She's been the main artist doing the sketches for the mural, and she's also considering joining the club. Judy, welcome again.
We have a guest speaker, but why don't we wait? We'll do a more formalized, little longer introduction at that point, but we do have a guest speaker whom we'll introduce later. Just a quick announcement. I apologize. I have to leave at 12:45 for another engagement, but we'll turn it over to Jean Marie's capable hands. Just a few announcements. I had mentioned a gentleman from the Wednesday Club named Bob Brooks had passed away, and we would like to send this card around. It's a Rotary, very nice, Rotary sympathy card. His wife's name is Carolyn, so we'll just send it around, and just, most of you may not know him, but nevertheless, just something nice, please. And then also, you all know about what's going on in Hawaii. There's a Maui Relief Fund that's set up by district, I think it's 5,000. So if you would like to contribute, Laurel was kind enough to put these little slips of paper on your tables. It's also in the Navigator where you send the money. And to inspire you or prompt you to give something, she brought a bunch of peaches back there. So they're free, grab one, but it's to motivate you to make a contribution. The other thing I just want to mention, it's not for a while, but wow, it's coming up soon. World Polio Day is on October 24th, and I don't think we have anything planned yet. We will start thinking about it. Okay, announcements.
So this is eventually going to get boring, but the fundraising gang for the mural has decided that we need to have a mural minute during the club meeting. So I'm a little bit of that. So mural minute for today is a shout out to Judy Basker, who's taken it upon herself to reach out to various groups, and some of you else have done that, to try to find us a lift basket or some way of mechanically lifting us off the ground so we don't have to work so hard. And she may have found a connection with Pacific Power and Light where they could provide us with a truck and maybe somebody to operate the truck too, which is really nice to do that. So kudos to Judy for getting out there and asking and chasing that down.
Anyone else? I've got one more announcement, good announcement. Well, we applied for 2 grants, one for Shoes That Fit and the other through the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy for a nature journaling program, an education program. And so they're $2,000 each. $2,000 comes from our club. And what I would like to announce is the district also awarded those. So both Shoes That Fit and the nature journaling programs have both been awarded $2,000 each by the district. That's really good news. All right. So keep up the good work. Let's see. I think we're ready. Brenda.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are very excited to give out the Vocational Service Award today. So I wanted to read the criteria, and I wanted to also thank everyone that nominated. We received a huge amount of nominations, and all of them were amazing. The criteria is a non-Rotarian. They live to the ideals of the 4-way step. They're outstanding in their vocational work and also active in the community, helping others. And the individual we're going to honor today definitely hit all of those marks. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Brenda, and she's going to announce the winner.
Well, I've been asked by Margaret to stand in for her. She's very disappointed she couldn't be here to do this because she's the one who nominated David, and she asked me if I would read her words. I've got to do my own little introduction. David is probably one of the closest brothers I have. We met 48 years ago almost when we started at Rogue together, and there'll be some of that in Margaret's words, but I am so pleased to be doing this for Margaret because David is very, very special to me and has always been. He and his wife and Jan and I have spent most of our lives together, raising our kids, doing our work, and now we're growing old together. And it does me great pleasure to be able to present this award to David. So these are words from Margaret. I met David West about 30 years ago when we served together on a diversity task force while working for Rogue Community College. The task force grew out of a diversity project funded by the Ford Foundation, along with 4 other Oregon community colleges. RCC began researching, planning, and implementing strategies to help attract diverse students and faculty, to graduate more minority students, and to ensure full participation and success in the educational process by all students, faculty, and staff. David is a 3rd-generation Oregonian, a veteran, and an enrolled citizen of the Potawatomi Nation. He taught Native American study classes at RCC while I worked in marketing. Our paths crossed previously when he sought me out to help promote his classes or a Native American cultural event on campus. Working together on the task force, we sat through many meetings together and attended several trainings until the task force developed a cultural diversity plan for RCC. Eventually, Rogue became one of 5 Oregon community colleges that presented an annual Cultural Diversity Institute that explored national diversity efforts, educational issues, students' experience, and specific tools and programs to implement diversity. Beyond work, I was drawn to David as a friend and a confidant. He has a way of warming your heart with his big old hugs and his big old grin. Notably, we've had lots of long talks during which he imparted some of his indigenous wisdom. For example, when I once tugged playfully on his long black braid, he told me that's what Indian girls did to get an Indian boy's attention. Well, I never tugged on his braid again because David and I shared another mutual connection, my then fiance, Greg Fishwick. David and my husband have a history that goes back to the early days of RCC, when David was a student and Greg was a counselor and co-coordinator of a peer advising program called Student Services Assistant. David and Brenda Patton were selected for the first cohort. David had come to RCC seeking a new career after an injury left him unable to continue working with heavy equipment. His experience as an SSA inspired him to pursue a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Oregon and a master's of arts in community psychology from the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. Eventually, David left RCC and began teaching at Southern Oregon College, where he ultimately became director of the Native American Studies program. We stayed in touch, however, and I'm proud to recall that David asked me to help get the word out about Conaway Nicatilicum, a summer academy for Native American youth, which David was instrumental in founding. Held annually on the SOU campus in Ashland, Conaway Nicatilicum, which means all my relations, is now in its 29th year and continues to be a model program in Oregon and the West Coast. Since his retirement from SOU, David has participated in the planning, implementation, and presentation of various Rotary-based and grant-funded youth camps, coordinating with Brenda Patton and the Table Rock Foundation. At the Table Rock youth camps and at other trainings held across the nation, David serves as a consultant and teacher of Indigenous traditional ecological knowledge relative to stewardship and reciprocity. I could say more about David's advocacy efforts for Native American Indian education, but David is a noted storyteller, so I'll end this tribute to my friend and former colleague by saying how pleased I am that he is receiving the Road Gateway Vocational Service Award and how well-deserved it is. Margaret Bradford. So with this, I'd like to invite David up. So the Road Gateway Rotary Club of Grants Pass Vocational Service Award 2022-2023, presented to David West in recognition of your distinguished service to the community and dedication to high ethical standards in your profession. My pleasure to present this to you. So tell us a few things about yourself.
Well, bonjour, Nakam. Hello, my relatives. My name is Wabaski Benish Chostanen Andaksklich. I come from the citizen Potawatomi Nation with Miami and Kickapoo, French, and Dutch descendancies. I was born in Weyerhaeuser's logging camp number 6, just outside of Bly, Oregon. And my family homesteaded at the community of Buncombe on the Little Applegate at the head of Sterling Creek, where my Dutch grandparents invited my Indian grandparents and mother to live in 1920 because it was a safe place for Indian people to live, as my Dutch family had been associated with the Nez Perce and Umatilla Indians in Idaho and northeastern Oregon. My grandfather on my dad's side was a self-taught veterinarian, and he learned a lot of his skills and his medicine works from the Nimipu or Nez Perce people and the Umatilla people in those countries, and came over to Southern Oregon and to the area up at Little Applegate. My dad was born in the back of a covered wagon in the middle of the lava beds at Tumalo. And we've been around here a long time. Oregon is my home, but I am originally on my Indian side. I'm from the Great Lakes area on the eastern side of Lake Michigan, and almost direct straight line across from Chicago. There's a little tiny native community that still exists there today called Three Oaks, Michigan. That's where my family line, my direct family line, and my particular band originated from, with the Miami and Kickapoo living just below us, along with the Menominee people. In later years, we came to be in residence around Green Bay, and then further down into Illinois in a place called Sugar Creek, where we were removed beginning in 1828 to Oklahoma, and our residence with the Absentee Shawnee. It seems that we were the main allies to a chief named Mainpock, who was the main supporter and ally of Tecumseh, of the Shawnee people, who led an effort to slow the westward tide. So I come from a lot of different backgrounds. Those that came across and those that tried to stop them from coming across, and then eventually came across themselves and ended up here in Oregon. My dad was a Caterpillar mechanic for 32 years. He was the first fire marshal at the Star Ranger District. He helped to build trails from Copper, which is at the bottom of Lake Applegate Lake, up over the passes past Cooking Green into Northern California. He was also the first human being to step through the opening of the tunnel on Oregon Mountain, going to California. And he was there appraising a Caterpillar, and the foreman of the job had driven logging trucks with him and dump trucks in the 3 Cs when they built the North Bank Road at Crater Lake. I come from an adventuresome people, both on my dad's side and my mother's side. My mother was a storyteller, and my Indian grandfather, Gilbert, was also a storyteller. I've ended up being a storyteller, and I taught all of my courses for 32 classroom years in the oral tradition of Native American people, which is based in oration, oratory, in the spoken word. We're raised to listen to what's being said without interruption by those that are speaking, with an appropriate pause when they've finished to ensure that they haven't forgotten anything that they might have wanted to say. I wasn't sure about what I was going to say today, but I really would love to express my deep gratitude to Margaret Bradford, to Greg Fishwick, to Brenda, to Sally, to Lisa, to Lutz Kramer, who was my literature instructor at Road Community College and helped me to refine the art of storytelling and enhanced my love of reading. As I'm approaching this part of my life, and I've been retired from the university now for 6 years, but I have stayed involved with the Native American Youth Academy. It's by far the very best thing that I ever did with my education. And Road Community College helped me on that road, not once, but 3 times, by educating me, graduating me, and hiring me to work for them. I was the first transitional faculty person to cross over with regionalization monies from Rowe Community College to Southern Oregon University, where I became the director of Native American programs and taught the core courses for Native American Studies there for 21 years at SOU. This program, this Conaway Nicotilican program, out of 29 years, next year will be our 30th year. If you have any dealings with education or educational programs, particularly those that look at college preparation and include in their structure and their development retention issues. For years, I would look at the statistics and the data from the Department of Education, both nationally and the state of Oregon. And the indigenous people of North America always occupied the very worst of the statistical data. Lowest high school completion rates, lowest entrance rates for college or university, highest dropout rates in the first year of college or university, highest debt incursion by per capita in the nation. And I set about doing something to change that. Along with my colleagues and my associates, we worked at developing supportive classwork that was indigenous based. We taught mathematics and physics from a native perspective by the use of an example of the teepee, and how the teepee, when the stronger the wind blows, the stronger the teepee adheres to the face of the earth. That's physics. And our young people understood it. When we asked them, how did your people count the buffalo on the high plains to know how many were in a herd? They didn't know. So they had to go back out to their own people and find out, how did they keep track? How did they count? And there was indeed counting. How do you write plays? We took them to Shakespeare and told them, here, this is how you write plays. This guy's pretty well known for his abilities to write plays. You folks come from a storytelling culture and heritage. Write the plays. Make the script so that people have to speak it and the words have life. They have impact. You can do it. You're storytellers. When you run into legal difficulties with issues around land, fire, air, and water, remember that you have trading skills and compromise and negotiation. We tried confrontation for a couple of 100 years, and it ended us up in Oklahoma. Not such a good deal. Use your skills of compromise and negotiation. You're a people based in trade. Use those skills. And if you're tired of the same old in your homes and your communities, and you're tired of seeing people die from the misuse of alcohol, and now even worse, drugs that beset and befall our people. If you're tired of people cheating you out of your land and what they say that they would pay you for it, what they would deliver to you for it, and they never did, then learn the law. Learn the English language very, very well so that it cannot be used against you again. Learn your own language, because everything that you need to know about being an indigenous person of North America is contained in your language. When I spoke to you and I said hello to you, my friends, there's another part that goes to that. It says, Anin Nanijina. That means I see your light. When you greet people, you recognize them by seeing the light of the fire of life that burns within them. All things that live have that fire of life that burns within them. That's how we understand it. So I see your light. I see a community, and we are a community of peoples. We were a people based in cooperative reliance and respect. Our entire social structure, I'm also a sociologist, and our entire social structure is based and centered around spirituality in our own reflection of our individual connection, understanding, and commitment to a higher power in whatever form that takes, whether it's traditional or whether it's contemporary, whether it's from the native ceremonies and things that have always been a part of our people, that as part of our individual connection to the higher force, that we would have community enactment through ritual and celebration that recognized that individual commitment and recognition, but also strengthened our community by community involvement. That's what I tried to do with my education, what I've tried to do with my life. I've worked hard all my life. I started hauling hay when I was 10 years old. I've always been pretty stout, and I could wing those hay bales around pretty good. I worked in the orchards alongside Mexican people every day. I watched them work at jobs that nobody else would take because they wouldn't do that kind of work. It was too hard. This is the truth. I also shared lunches with them and ate some of the hottest peppers I ever ate in my life. But they also had their first taste of fry bread, which is really kind of a fat tortilla and probably not all that good for you, but that's what we got in the way of rations in lieu of being able to make our living off the land. Lard, flour, heavy starched flour, heavy sugar, heavy cheese. Still nothing like a commodity cheese sandwich though. But it's not good for you. So I've tried to help our people get back to a healthier lifestyle in body, mind, spirit, and emotion. And I've tried to go around and be a good representative for my people and a good reflection of my family, my mother and father, and my grandparents, and all those that came before, with an eye to the future and the 7 generations ahead of us. And what do we do today that has effect on our community, our home, and our people's 7 generations from today? My name translates to mean white like old eagle. We didn't have a word for gray. And those black braids are long gone. White like old eagle. And that's in Potawatomi. Creole. Tannin is from the Athabascan people of the village of Nenana on the Tanana River, just down from Fairbanks. And it means, my brother, I found you. And Andakchich is from the Tlingit people of southeastern Alaska, that I'm adopted into the village of Puna and the Eagle and Killer Whale clans. And it means likes to go new places to sing and dance for a good time. So my whole name is White Like Old Eagle, my brother, I found you, who likes to go new places to sing and dance for a good time. And it fits me. And I thank you. My heart is very deeply touched. And I know that my parents and my grandparents, particularly my grandmother on my dad's side and my grandfather on my mother's side, are looking at me with very happy hearts and eyes today, because I have tried to represent both of them equitably, because that's what our country is made of. It's families and people, equitably. Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate it. Inaj Moen.
David, I'm just wondering if you would be comfortable taking any questions, if we have any. Any questions?
I don't need a microphone. Okay, hands up. Yes.
Well, we've really appreciated listening to you and having you here and having you win that award. But a sobering piece that I would like to ask about, especially when you brought up the Athabascan and Tlingit, is that right? Tribes in Alaska, and the amount of indigenous, particularly women and children, that have gone missing and not been found. I would like to know a bit more about, have you had any involvement with that? And is there more communication we can access about that?
Unfortunately, yes, I have direct involvement with that. For about 40 years, I have been a person who conducts funerals for our indigenous people, traditional services. For about 30 years, I've been a hospice worker and supporter and have cared for 8 members of my family in hospice. I've done more funerals than I can remember and that I care to count. The ones that are the hardest are the ones where there's tragic loss of life. The murdered and missing indigenous women and persons movement is called the Red Dress Movement. And the red hand that you see is a hand covered in the blood of our people, our women and our children. We have a disproportionate number of indigenous women, not only in Alaska, but across the nation. That's between 8 and 12% higher than the main population, and we make up 1% of the total population of the nation. Why is that number so high? It's because police don't investigate. Claims for missing persons were not given due credibility. And a lot of times this happens and has happened in places where large scale construction and oil field workers have been in the population. I didn't create that statistic. That's the truth. The Red Dress Movement has gained momentum incredibly. I was in Wisconsin about 6 weeks ago, visiting family and friends there. And on one weekend in Rapid City, South Dakota, there were 22 women, men, boys, and girls that were reported missing on a Saturday and a Sunday. On that same weekend, there were 14 people in Rapid City of Native descent who died from fentanyl overdoses. 9 of them were men. They were all indigenous. We have some real issues. And because we're a small population, they're much more visible within our populations. When you have a small community of 350 to 500 people, and you lose 6 to 8 people in a 10-week, 12-week period from drug overdoses, suicide through despair, and kidnapping and murder, rape, assault, domestic violence. You've lost an entire generation in that community. And it takes years for that to recover. We now have celebrations of life for our missing and murdered indigenous women and people. I was just at the Confederated Tribes of Siletz powwow this last weekend, and they had a red dress special there. There were 62 American Indian women that danced there. Wait a minute. That was a creator calling, telling me I better wrap it up. And plus, it's good for a laugh. You know. This is a hard subject. There were 62 women in that dance, all ages, grandmas in wheelchairs, walkers on canes, young people, old people, all females. At the end of the line of the women came the warriors. Always traditionally, the men went forward to meet the danger ahead of the main body and putting themselves between the danger and the innocent ones, our women and children and old people. The women are the ones that are leading this charge, this movement. And the men coming in behind are supporting them. They're the active warriors. They're the active participants. And that bloody hand silenced our voices because nobody would take it seriously. Nobody would investigate it. They just wrote us off like so much trash. Dumped in the dump. That's changing. They just shut down a major highway in Canada, telling the people of their communities, the governing bodies, search the landfills. The reason you're not finding any bodies or remains is because they're in the landfills. Search the landfills. So they start searching the landfills. They've already recovered 12 remains. This is as difficult as the issue of finding the buried, missing children at the boarding schools, both in Canada and the United States. This is a horrible, horrible history of things that happened to the indigenous people in boarding schools for a very long time, including my mother and my grandfather, my aunties and my uncle. I'm a product, a direct product of the boarding school and the industrial school experiences. My student, while finishing her doctoral work at Montana State University in archaeology and anthropology, was one of the lead people in the nation to begin using ground penetrating radar to find where the children were buried in the cemeteries or where hidden cemeteries might be located on the boarding schools. So far in Canada and the United States, they've found the remains of 19,000 children buried 5 and 6 deep, with the only nameplate being a copper plate on top of the ground. The last one buried is the only one that's noted in that grave. This is across the nation in the old boarding schools and old cemeteries. We finally just had enough. So a movement started about 7 years ago called Idle No More. We're not idle. We're not keeping our mouth shut. Just be good, quiet Indians over there and stay on your reservation. You got to have paperwork to be offered your reservation to travel anywhere in your own country. And if you don't have that paperwork, we'll come get you and send United States Marshals after you to return you. Those doctrines are still in effect on a number of reservations in the United States. Just imagine if you had to do that. You had to go to the mayor or to the head of the city council and get written permission to leave the confines of Grants Pass. Wouldn't be a very popular thing, would it? Be a lot of drain on that mayor's office, that president's office. So they just wouldn't do it. And people just had to stay there. They had to sneak on. So the red dress movement is connected to a lot of movement. We're not idle anymore. We have our voice back. And it's the young people that I just mentioned who are leading this, and the women. Our prophecies tell us that it would be a woman who feared for the continued life of the planet, the drinkability of the water by their children, and the continued existence of the Mother Earth, and the people and beings, all our relations that live upon her. That's happened with a woman chief in Canada 4 years ago. Said exactly the words of the prophecy. We're in that time. We recognize it. We've been saying that there's something really, really bad wrong with Mother Earth. She's ill for a long time. We have what we call observational ecology, observational science. When people live somewhere for 14,000 years, uninterrupted in their relationship to their environment, they can tell when it's too darn hot, when there's no water, when the ice is melting at a rate never before seen. The highest temperatures on Earth in recorded time across the planet this summer. What does that tell you? That climate change is, oh, that's fake news. I'm sorry, it's not fake news. It's real. And it's happening. What do we do about it? We find a way to work cooperatively with each other, and we listen to what she's trying to tell us. And we do something about it, and we have to put the profit motive to the side. Because if she's dead and there's no water and it's too hot, that profit isn't going to mean anything. Water becomes worth more than gold. We have to make a change. And this is an organization of change. This is an organization of business people. And you may not like what I'm saying, but I hope you will listen to the intent with which I'm saying it to you. I'm concerned about what 7 generations from now is going to be like, not just for my children, my progeny, but yours as well. Living in an environment together and having food, having water, having a discussion, having an honoring of somebody who's worked hard to try to do right by themselves and their community. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the award. Well deserved. How about Lutz? Would you like to be our Sergeant of Arms? Okay. Okay. Good enough.
James says, love you, David West. Thank you for all you have done and all that you do. You've made a huge difference. Any questions from Zoom? Congratulations, David. This is from Steve Rowe. Congratulations, David. I enjoyed your story at the hearth, and thank you for all that you have done. You're deserving of this award. Thank you for making a difference. You matter. Looks like all of them. God, it's always great to follow somebody like David, you know, and try to plug in someplace. But he left me a little opening when he talked about everything having a light. I found something about a pickle. So this is advice from a pickle. Life can be hard sometimes. Deal with it. Relish every moment you share with those that you love. The door to happiness is always ajar. If you want life to be sweet, you have to know what sour tastes like too. Remember, life is never a dull moment. Don't worry, in the end, everything will be just brine. I also wanted to lay out a little contest for you of having you try to write the first couple of lines to a romance novel based on your vocation or your occupation. I ran across this because of a little thing I saw on a website that I am a part of, talking about a romance novel, opening of a romance novel as written by a farmer. And it starts out with something like, I watched surge after surge go through her body. Maybe I should have told her about the new electric fence. So my challenge to you is to, as you're thinking about things between now and the next time that I'm Sergeant at Arms, send to me via email your opening lines based on your vocation or your occupation. For instance, Jody, you could do something like, I tried to get him low interest, but he wanted dividends. You know, there are a wide variety of places you can go with this, and I'm really expecting some great ones. So send these to me via email. There is a prize involved, and I will let you know the next time that I'm Sergeant at Arms, probably sometime in September, who the winner is. But don't forget it, and I'll be sending you an email follow-up. Patty Toronto, I'm expecting a great one from you. All right, so let's get to Happy Bucks. A lot of Happy Bucks, hopefully sad bucks for Hawaii. You know, a lot of places that you can make a difference here. Happy Bucks for some of the things that, that David has talked about as well. Gina Marie.
All right. So I have Happy Bucks for David. Thank you for being here and congratulations. It was wonderful. I also want to give Happy Bucks to celebrate something that Rotary has been a part of. I'm on the library board. We had our board meeting last night and got our annual report for the year, for the last fiscal year. And part of it was an update on the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which all 4 Rotary clubs teamed together to start, and it's been going for a while now. And I just thought the statistics were amazing. So for those of you who don't know, Dolly Parton Imagination Library provides a book a month for every child in Josephine County between the ages of 0 and 5. So if a kid enrolls in the program at birth, they get a book a month for 5 years until they graduate out of the program. And it's open for every single child in Josephine County. And trying to find the information here, and it's very tiny. And the books also are bilingual, so we include Spanish books as well. So in fiscal year 23, more than 25,000 books were mailed to children in Josephine County, and 468 children graduated out of the program, so 5-year-olds graduating out of the program. Since launching, 4,682 Josephine County children have received 113,839 books. So thank you for all that you did to be part of that grant process. Yes. You can still contribute to the program if you would like to. The Grants Pass Rotary Foundation, their club foundation, holds the money for that. And so if you're interested in putting your money towards the Dolly Parton Library, you can make your donation there. Thank you.
Dolly Parton is my new hero. She, when somebody asked her when she was going to retire, she said, "Why would I retire from something that I love so much? I'd rather just die on stage." So that's my new line when people ask me when I'm going to retire from teaching. Jody.
Well, I'd like to give a big heartfelt thank you to the people that came and helped at the fair and dramatically helped me with my officer in charge day. Patty Toronto, Patrice Hamlin, Kelly Gonzalez, Val Lovelace, Kirk Brown, John Jones, Debbie Brownell, Brenda Patton, and Zara Dar all came and helped. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And that earned the club $222 that we will pay from the posse for the money that we would have gotten for those shifts. So thank you very much for making some extra money for Rotary and for helping me out so much.
Thank you. Anybody on in Zoom land that has anything to say? I'm not seeing any hands up there, so we'll go back to Doug.
Yeah, I've got a happy buck or some happy bucks. We are in the middle of the grant application for the Veterans Village. Tommy, thank you. And we are just finishing off the application and stepping back and looking at this application, which is incredibly long and complicated. I sort of step back and say, why, what creates such a complicated process to ask for money to build some housing? And then, then you step back and say, okay, well, we're asking this project is asking for about $3 million from the federal government to build housing. So it should be complicated. And we could, if it was a bigger project, we could ask for more money. So it's appropriate, but it's really interesting to step back and look at that, what feels like just a god-awful long, difficult process to ask for money from the federal government, but then to step back and say, well, yeah, it's probably appropriate because, if something goes wrong or somebody down the line steals something, the government is there looking out for our tax dollars. So it feels appropriate and it's really close to being done. About to hand off my part of it to somebody and it gets turned in on Monday. So I'm very happy for that.
Anybody else today?
It was very interesting volunteering for the post, and I was really happy because we reported a drunken person and helped with a mother and child get a ride back to her car. Another volunteering piece that I did the previous month was the fork program at the grocery outlet. And there it was very interesting. It was kind of, Dawn and I were standing there for about an hour. We had a few people that went and bought the $5 groceries. But what was interesting was a young guy, very good looking, full of, what do you call this, tattoos and a gun in his pocket, and with two children. So I looked at him and said, well, I'm gonna ask him. So I went and talked to him. And without doing anything, he just took out $20 and gave it to me. I said, oh, the cashier needs that. So he just went. And then I went and got him a coupon for $20 and gave it to him. So that was very interesting to see somebody coming to a grocery store with children and a gun in his pocket. Yeah. And so I have 10 happy bucks for them.
Tommy.
I'd like to tag in with Doug. It's been a long process on these vets, but I can't be more pleased that we get, oh, good, something more to sign. Anyway, but I can't be more pleased that we can help our vets. They deserve everything we can help them with.
Anybody else? Valerie?
I am just going to give the 5 happy bucks for today's presentation because, every time I come, I think, there's always something that you can be doing during this time. And you just go, oh, I'll feel better if I go. And it was such a blessing. I just felt honored with your message. So thank you.
I'm looking forward to a story from a city councilor for this contest too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 5 happy bucks for honor of my new puppy, Escrow. Escrow's predecessor was Condo. Condo's predecessor that I got during the recession was Repo. And Repo's predecessor was Fizbo. You know what Fizbo means? For sale by owner. But Escrow is now potty trained. And there's evidence on the bathroom floor of all the toilet paper that he is indeed potty trained.
Yeah, it's a great picture if you guys haven't seen that. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to throw this back over to you, Gina Marie.
All right. Well, I'm just going to wrap it up with Jim's thought of the day. It's from Henry David Thoreau, and it says, "Goodness is the only investment that never fails." Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. I haven't got my score yet. I turned the stage lights off. No air here at all. It's hot. The whole room is like that.
That's nice that we got this from him.
I know, right? Doug did a great job with that. Yes.
I told him he could just put it in the box because I'm always doing stuff in here.